why would your body do what you want it to? Like, obviously, it's referring losing weight if you're if you're like saying mean things to it all the time.
Hey runners, welcome back to the Dogs Per Mile podcast. I'm your host and running buddy today, Bridget. I am so fucking excited because today's episode is extra special. It is our very first guest, and I could not think of a better person to kick this off with than my friend Kayla Jury. Fun fact, I actually met Kayla about 5 years ago when I won an Instagram contest for 30 days of free coaching. And, well, I just never stopped being her friend after that. Since then, I've watched her grow a health coaching business. I've watched her grow into an incredible coach for coaches, a curriculum consultant, and a total badass who's developed an amazing thing called Coaches College. Now, if you're thinking this is just another running podcast where we're going to talk about splits, pacing, and training plans, nope. We are going to dive right into Kayla's journey from being what she called a mileage junkie, like we're talking multiple marathons over multiple weeks, to completely stepping away from running and now finding her way back with a totally different perspective in New York City. We're going to talk about why counting dogs may be more important than counting miles, and what the hell growth points are, and why they've changed both of our relationships with running. And just wait till you hear about her record-breaking dog per mile count in New York. It's wild. So this, for anyone who's ever felt like they're just running a certain distance or only hitting a certain pace, this episode is especially for you. Kayla brings this beautiful perspective about finding joy in running again and celebrating every single win, no matter how small. So whether you're a seasoned marathon runner like Kayla or just starting out or somewhere in between, grab your headphones, maybe head out for a run, and join us for this conversation about redefining what success in running looks like. And hey, if you're running while listening, give yourself some growth points for that. Let's jump right in with Kayla. Yay! My first guest!
Ooh, this is so fun. I am so super excited and literally so honored to be here today. Like, this just feels so fun and so special in like 8 different levels. So I'm really
It's so whole. It's like the whole, everything's coming whole circle, if that's the phrase. I forget it. But
yeah, it
welcome,
feels
Kayla.
like that.
Welcome, Kayla,
Thank
to the
you.
Dogs Per Mile podcast.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. So happy to be here.
Thank you. For anyone who doesn't know, which is probably everyone, I met Kayla about 5 years ago when I won an Instagram contest
Yeah.
to basically get 30 days of free coaching, which I just never stopped doing for years. And Kayla was my health coach. When we connected, we both loved running. We both loved being active in the Pacific Northwest. And over the years, I've just watched Kayla grow into a health coach and now a coach for coaches, and her Coaches College, and a curriculum consultant and developer, and with a just love of running, reading, especially Harry Potter, and very good cocktails. I'm always impressed with the cocktails she posts online or where she finds them at. And she's returning to running after taking a break from running and is now advocating for approach to running that involves more self-acceptance and celebrating those small victories, which fits just perfectly in with a Dogs Per Mile mindset. I'm so excited to have you here and to kind of talk about your return to running and what brought you back and your whole story. So I think we should just start with your running background. So were you always a runner? What was your running origin story?
Yeah, so like you just shared, when we first met, which it's like, when I think about that, I'm like, we've been friends for so long now. Like, obviously it started as a like, quote unquote, like working relationship, but it's like and even though like we saw each other when we lived in Portland, and then we got to like reconnect in like Omaha and like all sorts of different things. So it's been so fun. But when we first met, we kind of connected over our love of running because I used to run a lot. When I started running in college, and I remember being like, if I could just run 2 miles, then like I'll be able to be a runner, right? And once I hit that 2 miles, and it's you think back on that time and how beautiful it was in the very beginning when everything was so new and everything was so exciting. And I just remember what it would feel like the first time I hit 4 miles, and then I kept like going further, and I felt stronger and I felt stronger, and I fell in love with it hard. And so I ended up running a lot. I used to joke and call myself a mileage junkie if I had already done like my 4-mile run or whatever I was planning on doing that day, and somebody was like, hey, do you want to run after work? I'd be like, oh, yeah, absolutely. Let's go. And I would just go run, because it also was a really great time for me in building community when I first started. And the Portland Run community was so fun. When I was teaching at the time, I had a lot of teachers who were running. So I ended up running a lot of long distance, a lot of half marathons like you. Hood to Coast, the relay race is like my favorite, doing it every year. I ended up running quite a few marathons. And there was a year, my last year of like intensely running, I ran 4 marathons in 6 weeks or something like that. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Holy
just because
shit.
my mileage was just so high that my body was like, I thought about doing an ultra, which I try not to regret anything. But in hindsight, I'm like, you were so primed to run an ultra, because my body just could run so much high mileage all the time that I'd been building up to. And I just loved going out for like 20-mile runs, 16 to 20-mile runs every weekend. And so that's part of my history. But how I stopped running was in that last year of running. And this would have been before we met still. Yes, this would have been before we met, because my like big running years were 2008 to like 2014. And I met my now husband, John, and he was a basketball player. And so for him, running was punishment. And so he'd tease me about it all the time. And I loved running back then for the way it made me feel. It made me feel so strong. It made me feel so capable. It was such a great feeling. And he lifted weights a lot as like coming from being an athlete. And he was like, why don't you just come to the gym and try it out? And so we kind of started to have this transition where I would run not as far long distance. Plus, you know, it was the beginning of a relationship. We're like going on dates and stuff all the time. So I don't have I don't have the time for 20 miles every weekend anymore. But I started going to the gym with him and just started lifting a lot, and ended up just really transitioning into lifting all the time. And running just went down to like 3 2-mile runs a week. So that's kind of how that transition happened in my running history. But
interesting. So it wasn't like a planned break. It was just kind of like it slowly phased out. You fell in love with another movement that brought you joy, that made you excited, that made you feel powerful, but just in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I was like, I love running so much, but I think at the core of it, I loved it because of feeling powerful, feeling like I'm moving, the way it makes your brain feel, the way it makes your body feel. And at that time, too, it was so awesome because I had somebody to do it with that was my partner. And I know like you and Ed have done races and things like that together. And it's so special when you have that time. So I really loved doing that with John. But then it got intense because I ended up, you know, just like with running, I couldn't just keep it chill. I ended up running tons of marathons, and I started getting way faster. And, you know, I would regionally, I wouldn't consider myself like elite competitive, but I was very competitive. Like in my age group, I usually placed top 3. I had a lot of like first place wins in my age group in Portland and stuff. And so it's like when I got into lifting, it's like I can't just go to the gym. So then I started competitive bodybuilding. And that, though, was harder. And that's where I think the relationship with running really changed, because in that world, running is like not okay. They're like, you can't run, no cardio, you're not allowed to lift weights only, build muscle only. And that was a really conflicting feeling that was uncomfortable. But in that way, I felt like I was forced to let go of running. And I remember making my prep coaches allow me to run at least once a week. And none of them wanted to. And I was like, no, I want to run at least once a week.
And that was a conversation we always had. Like, even when we would talk about like me lifting weights, I'm like, I have to go for a run, or I'm going to murder someone. I need to do this. Like, I need that powerful moment. And so like, I understand that sort of mindset.
Yeah. And what I think is so important is, like you were saying, is like, we do all of these things for body shape goals or health goals or very specific reasons. And so much of what we do also has to just include what makes us happy. And so I think that's a really important conversation. And you were better at advocating for yourself. And of course, like letting me know that than I was for myself in that time. Because I'm also, we both relate in this, where I'm like, I'm a very good student. So if someone tells me what to do, I'm going to do that thing. Yeah. But I think that was also a really great learning time, because that experience also helped me be a better coach too. Knowing, I was like, I don't like the way they did that. I'm not doing it like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like listening to the behind, or like the in between the words. Phrase.
Yes, like the behind the scenes or between the lines. Between the lines.
Thank you. I was like, between the words, not there. Now that you've moved to the other coast, the East Coast.
I know.
East Coast, West Coast, Best Coast, but I grew up in the East Coast, so I love the East Coast. It's just
I've been
special.
loving it so much. Yeah.
This brought you wanting to start back into getting into running. What was there a moment, a catalyst?
Yeah. Well, honestly, there's been a lot of things, and this is something that I've struggled with. Like my quote unquote comeback to running is something I've struggled with for a couple of years now, because I've wanted to get back into running, and I've wanted to get back to like running a half marathon at the drop of the hat, like I used to be able to, because it just felt so good again to feel so capable. And so over the last couple of years, I've gone into like stints where I'm like, I'm going to put effort into it. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do it. And what ended up happening, and I think what's really important about how my mind has changed, is when I was doing that, I was going into it thinking and remembering how good it felt to go run 20 miles, how it felt easy, right? Like once you get like doing it and you were doing it that much, like if you can run 20 miles, then when you run 5, it feels like nothing, right? There's that feeling of like how you're almost like the tolerance, the stamina, and how like secure that felt, and how mechanically like my stride felt really good, and how I would hit a certain pace. And when I was running, like my easy runs were like 8:15. Like that's so fast to me in my mind.
It's so fucking fast.
And then just like my regular runs way back then when I was running a lot would be like easy 7:30, right? And then it was like I got to the point where I would accidentally run with things that started with 6, right? And so when I got back into running, that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about, I should be running a 7:30 right now. My easy run should be 8:15. And so I'd go out after not running for 6 months, or like only running 2 miles 3 times for the last 6 months, right? I would go out and try to drop 7:30s on a 5-mile run, and it just crushes you. It feels bad in your body. It feels bad in your mind because it's so hard. Like you're sore forever after. And I was like, why? And, then you beat yourself up and you're like, you're not good. You're never going to be that again. And when that was happening, I also, no one is surprised by this, got injured every time.
Yep. And the funniest thing is like, you're the one who set the rules on you. No one put those rules on you.
No one. And also no one fucking knows. No one cares. And I'm the one who set the rule on myself. So it literally took me probably 2 years to get to where I am right now, because I kept going on this roller coaster of trying to be fast, trying to run far, and doing all of these things. And so moving to New York, though, like it's been my dream to live here for so long.
Yeah.
And what runner hasn't imagined themselves running in Central Park? Like everyone listening has been like, yep, they can see themselves right now running through Central Park in the fall.
Going around the loop and the everything, the hills.
Yeah.
Or one of the tracks, like one of the ones by the water. Any of those.
Yeah. Any of those. Or like the West Side Highway, I finally got a run on. And it's like, even right now, I just remembered when I said that, like the first time I turned the corner onto the West Side Highway and you're looking at Jersey, and my heart just like swells with like, oh, that emotion. But so when we moved here, I was like, I just have to start running again. You just have to do it, Kayla. But I immediately, when we very first started moving here, still dropped back. And I'm like into that mindset of, but you have to be able to run. I also, in order to like run to Central Park and around it, it's like, well, to run 1 lap around Central Park, it's like 6 miles. And if I'm going to run there, it's like I instantly have to be able to run far and all of these things. And so when I very first started, I was like, this is hard. It was also 90 degrees and 90% humidity. So
yeah. You're not used to the humidity from the West Coast to the East Coast. It slaps you in the face real hard.
But you would think me watching you, I would like have thought about it, or go through that transition.
I'm like, no, I'm better than the humidity. As a runner, your previous runner, like, no, I'm better than this. I'm better than that.
Yeah, no, that's what you think. But you're like, no, absolutely not. So that was kind of a struggle moving here in June. But I had this click, and my coach honestly helped me a lot with this. But she was like, what would happen if you didn't go try to run a certain distance? She's like, what if you just like went on a run, and wherever you went is where you went? And whenever you came home, she's like, if it was 1 mile, if it was 3, if it was whatever, like, what if you just didn't do that? And I was like, what do you mean? And because also I had already structured, I was like, this is the marathon. This is the half marathon I'm going to run. And I have to run 3 miles, but I have to run 5 miles as the long run. And it has to be increasing by 10% every week. And, all that baloney that's helpful, but helpful in a certain mindset. Right. And so she convinced me to just give up all of that. And oh my God, it was wild how immediately I was like increasing my mileage, how immediately everything felt easy, how immediately, and it's because of what you talk about, where instead of me running, looking at my watch and
Yep.
thinking about what's my cadence, what's my stride per minute, I was just like, oh my God, look at that restaurant over there. We should try that. Or, oh, well, yeah, look at the decorations inside there. What is that place? Or running on the waterfront. And I'm like, oh my God, I live in New York City, right? Or to your
Mm-hmm.
tune, like I did also practice little dog counting, and that got a little crazy. And we'll share that story later. But
Yeah, it gets wild.
yeah, but that was like the big change, is very literally
Yeah.
looking around and being like, how does this feel? Just on all the levels.
Yeah.
And it changed everything. And all of a sudden after that, I was running, like I got back, like I'm already back to running like 8:45s, 8:30s for like my easy run. I'm like, how did that happen? Because before I was like 9:30 and 9:45 felt so horrible. And in 2 months, like just like that. And I ran like
Yeah.
a 7-mile long runs. I might do 8 on Tuesday just to
Cool.
explore, to run 2 run club and then run with run club
Mm-hmm.
and then
That's
train
always fun.
back. Yeah. So yeah, it's amazing. Just like following your suit and looking at the joy of it changed everything about the whole thing.
It's almost like when I used to run on my Garmin, I would keep like the pace and like all those sort of stats on there. And the day that I decided that I was just going to change it to the time, like I'd go bump back one screen and all I could see that it was like 6:42 in the morning. That like changed everything because I wasn't like looking at it constantly, just letting it
Yes,
do its own thing. So
I
you're always doing that
love
in your
that.
brain. You're like
hmm
basically moving the screen in your brain to just whatever you want that to be, whatever's
hmm
fun.
Sometimes I would, and I know that like for me, I'm not attached to this number, but I would do that too. And I would toggle my watch to my heart rate. And because I do recognize my heart rate, but I don't feel attached to it the same way I do miles or pace. Definitely not the same way I feel pace. But it did also help me be like, yeah, you're just out here running easy. Like you're not trying to like go do anything. And so that kind of helped me be like, this is just like easy enough, like not a big deal. But I know for other people that might not be so helpful, because for some people heart rate is like, obviously if they're heart rate training or something, that wouldn't be a thing for them. But I like that idea, switching your toggling your watch away.
Yeah. But I like that we all have like our like one stat that like that's like the stat that we get a little too focused on. Like it could be pace, it could be distance, it could be heart rate. Like you said, take cadence, and we just get too locked in and worried. Mine is like, how far did I go? Like that's what I'm always like,
Yes.
well, oh, I only like that was what I talked about the other day. I only ran 4 miles because I was like planning on going for 5. And so I texted, I was like, I'm turning around at 2 miles because I'm only going for 4. And then as soon as I said that, I was like, what the fuck? Why am I saying only? Makes no sense.
Yes, I love that. I think I like super cheered and responded to that on your Instagram. I was like, yes, this is so good. Our language is so important. And I think that's one of
Yeah.
the things, and that's one of the things I like teach my coaches in our training, is because that's language is trained in us, not because only just inherently we think that way about, like, it does feel like I only did this because I was planning on doing something else, but we're kind of trained by that in the world. And so I teach my
Yeah.
coaches to like put words like that in the graveyard. And so I love that you made that post. You're like, no more just, no more only.
Yeah.
So good. So
Because like my
good.
mom
So
will ask me like, oh,
important.
how far did you run? And I like to do it jokingly, but then it also at the same time, it's just toxic in my brain. I'm just making myself feel better because I'm like, oh, I just ran 10 miles, and she just giggles and thinks it's funny. I'm like, oh, I should not say that because she thinks it's funny, but other people are
Yes.
like, that sounds so like, or like, oh, I just ran, 5 miles. Like, whoa, well, I'm trying to run a mile, so guess I fucking suck.
Yeah, exactly. Though I think there's sometimes the fun in the response of like feeling like 10 miles isn't far, and other people being like, what?
That is, I am guilty of that. That is one of my favorite things. Like, oh, I ran 5 miles this morning, and just like wanting a response. I'm like, okay, that's a
Yeah.
little bit, but it also
Well,
is fun.
I think that's like a safe, fun thing. Like, and I think, for instance, like John, as he's not a runner, he loves to always be like, you are so crazy in the best way. What the fuck? You ran 9 miles today. What's going on? And I love that. He gets me my hype person. So like with your mom, I feel
Yes.
like that's like the perfect safe place to do that
Yeah.
and know that that's like the relationship, is they give you that hype. So I think
Yeah.
that's okay.
It's like knowing your audience when you say those sort of things. Like if you're saying it to someone who's starting out, you would never say that to someone
Never.
starting out.
Yeah.
But if it's somebody who you have that relationship, I think that's different. So
Mhm.
you've moved away from like traditional metrics, splits, everything like that. Was there any, like you said, it was unexpected that you were just like after 2 months started to pick up speed without like really consciously putting in the effort. Do you think it was just because you released the stress from your brain that you had those expectations on yourself and those rules?
I think so. I think it's one of those things where when you focus on something so much, like for instance, I'm like, okay, well, I know if I'm running like a 9:30 easy, I want to get to 9. And then I'm like focused on just like trying to stick around 9. But when I was like, how about you just let your body do whatever it wants? And then I get back and I'm like, holy shit, I ran 8:36 miles and an 8:45 mile because I was just feeling my body. And I think we hold ourselves back like that in so many like subconscious, unconscious
Absolutely.
ways. It could be like on a test. You're like, okay, well, I know I only really average B's. So if I could just get a B on this test, and then you're like self-fulfilling prophecy of like
Oh, for
making
sure.
yourself just get a B or, And so kind of think it was that. I think my mind was focused on something. And so I was training toward like forcing myself to just do that thing where it's like my body's like, hey, actually, if you just like get that block out of the way, we can do more. You know, if you just respect me and allow me, we could do more.
Yeah, if you could just give me a little bit of grace, that'd be nice.
Yeah. What there was
Just be a little nicer to myself.
Yes. So there was something I remember posting this a long time ago when I was still doing health coaching, but it was a post something along the lines of, and it resonates so much now that we're talking about this as like me for myself, is it was something like, why would your body do what you want it to? Like, obviously, it was referring losing weight. If you're like saying mean things to it all the time. So if you're like, you're ugly, you're fat, you're this, why would your body be like, okay, yeah, I'll go do what you want? No way.
Exactly.
Your body's like, in order to get anybody to do what you want, the first key thing is be nice to them. So
yeah, exactly. Like it's like going up to like a hotel counter and you're like just an asshole to them. They're like, okay, well, here's your room. That's all you get. Or
yeah,
you're
they're
nice
giving you the dirty small one.
that's next to the elevator. Like enjoy.
Yes.
Enjoy hearing that the entire night.
Versus if you're nice, they'll be like, you know what? We have an upgrade for you. Actually, true story. John and I get free stuff all the time just because we're nice. Like
exactly same
all the time. Yeah. I'm like, they're like, do you guys want another round? Just on us. We're like, yeah, we do.
Yes, absolutely. If it's free, it's for me. I'm here. Give it to me.
That's like a very cute tagline. It sounds very good together. That's so funny. I love that so much. Yeah. I think the other thing, though, that was really helpful is this, as we're talking about like, and I'm relating a lot of this back to coaching and some of the coaching practices, is there's something that I use for my clients and teach my clients to use, and now teaching my coaches to use, is really just building like that positive momentum. Because when we are saying mean things, it's just so negative, and you aren't motivated. Like everybody knows that you can maybe be a little bit motivated with anger, like some David Goggins shit, like "Sack the fuck up, you little bitch, let's go," right? Like every once in a while, but largely we're motivated by positivity. We're motivated by what feels good. We're motivated by knowing we're doing it and it's working. And it's so hard to see that sometimes, especially when you're looking at all the metrics, when you're looking and I'm like, well, my pace still isn't 8:45 and I'm looking so far away at the end goal. And that was like my big problem, right? Is I was trying to be running 7:30s and 8:45s and running 10 miles and 13 miles immediately. That's what I was looking at.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think is really important is thinking about there is so many steps between here and there, and looking at each little one. And it's like, okay, well, really, truly, my goal is to not go start trying to run a 7:30. My goal is to actually just.
Yeah.
And so that in itself is a win. And I call that growth points, where you get to like, that's a point. That's like if you're adding it up like as a score, I'm like +1 today because I just ran, period. Right? Plus another one today because I ran when it was hot outside. Plus another one today because I ran and the shirt I wanted to wear was in the laundry. Right?
Or my favorite sports bra was dirty.
Honestly, I'm chafed because mine was yesterday. Because I had to run in the sports bra I don't like and it chafed me. But all of those things matter, and they almost matter more because it's like building your resilience, but we never count that.
No. And that's what I love. Is like I ran last week and it was fucking pouring rain, pouring buckets, but I like went out because of that, because I was like, I want to get that tough run out of my brain. I was on my period. I had cramps. My stomach was dying and it was pouring rain, and any other person would have said, I'm just going to stay inside, or I'm just not going to do anything. And I wanted those like the points is like what I thought. I was like, oh, I get extra credit points because you and I are A students and we want to do everything we can. I was like, I get extra credit because I ran in the rain. I did extra
Mhm.
credit because I ran when I was on my period and I had cramps. I get
Yeah,
points
and
for that.
we just never give ourselves credit for that. And we need credit for any time we don't feel like it, anytime, even if we do feel like it and we go do it, you're like, that's still a +1. It was just,
It still counts.
yeah. And I think, yeah, we just don't do enough counting. So that's what I started doing is focusing on what I call growth points. And I'm like, okay, you got a +1 here, a +1 there. And then it gave me something for us type A people because we like
Mhm.
to tabulate. We like to cross off. We like to, then it's still even a number, right? Numerical. And it's like, and you can even
But
break
you
it
have
down as
control
much.
over that number versus
Yes.
pace and everything you don't control.
Yeah. And so it's also very much like your +1s could be anything related. Like your +1 could be what you ate after to refuel. It could be what you ate
Mhm.
before to fuel up, right? Like all of those things count. And then you start to see how it adds up and you're like, wait, I actually got +3 just today because it was raining. I was on my
Mhm.
period. I even stretched and foam rolled after or something crazy. Like
Well,
all of it counts.
I love that. And I use that in so many ways. And I
Mhm.
don't realize I'm using it
Mhm.
till now. I think it's just really great to like, you get to define what the growth mindset are. And they could be things that you want to work on. Like you talked about
Mhm.
foam rolling and stretching. So like
Mhm.
I am getting close to 40 and I apparently need to foam roll and stretch before runs. You can't just bop out there hungover. It doesn't work that way anymore.
Not
Body doesn't bounce
anymore.
back. No. So
Not
like, oh, I
anymore.
treated my body with respect. I get extra points because I got to the gym early and I foam rolled
Mhm.
and I did a little warm up run. So I get points for that.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. I just think it's so, so powerful. I really do. And I think it's something that's benefited me a lot. And the thing that's cool about it too is you can apply it everywhere in life. Like the +1
Yeah.
system goes everywhere.
And I think it's also nice because it is unique to you and it allows you not
Mhm.
to get focused on the other people because I don't know if you're like me. Every person I know, whenever they run a race, I find their bib number, I find the race, and I look at how fast they ran because I apparently just want to know am I faster or slower than you? And I think that kind of like takes that comparison out because you don't know if that run was harder for them. So I think it helps you not compare yourself
Yeah.
to others. And even worse,
Yes.
comparing it to past you, because I think a lot of times we forget how many growth points we had to get to that point. Because you were talking
Which
about like,
was
oh, I'm
my
expecting
problem, right?
what exactly? Like if
Mhm.
you think like when you first started running, you weren't running 7:30s, or maybe you were. I wasn't.
No,
And when the
I
first
was
time I
not.
like when I finally got up to there, I was like, you forget how many growth point steps you had to get to that point when
Mhm.
you start over. You assume that
And
it's, oh, I've done it before, I can do it again.
I love that point though, because also, one, the thing too is like growth points are cumulative forever. Because think about like when I did very first start running, it probably took me like 1,000 growth points to like do a 4 mile run. Where
Yeah.
now to get to a 4 mile run, it wouldn't take me 1,000 growth points because they're still inherently part of what I've already accomplished. So I can
Hmm.
do it now because of that in 500 or 200 or something, That's, ooh, I kind of like that thought where it's like cumulative literally forever too.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, like parents who have kids, and I don't have kids to wake me up in the middle of the night, you
Mm-hmm.
get points for just getting a run in at that time.
I also liked what you said about comparison. So I don't necessarily, or at least right now, I'm not in a season where I'm comparing other races, maybe because I haven't run one in so long. I definitely used to do that, but I would say the one place that gets me every time if I'm running on a treadmill next to a stranger, like
Oh
in the
yeah.
gym, I'm just like, what are they? What are they running?
I'm sure you were the same at Orange Theory when we both went at the same time as we're like, oh, what are you running? Boop, boop, boop. What are you running? Boop,
Oh,
boop, boop.
oh, yeah. No matter every single time in Orange Theory, I was
Every
like, and every time I'm like, I want to hear the instructor behind me being like, nice touch. And I'm like, yeah, you better have just seen me increase the speed on my treadmill.
That's me in Pilates class. I'm like, oh, there's a challenge? Okay, yeah, I can totally do that. I'm like, maybe, maybe not. But that's a growth point. Sometimes that's a way to turn that
Mm-hmm.
kind of like toxic sort of like competitive nature into a growth point. Like, oh, I took the challenge or I took the
Mm-hmm.
coach's instruction if you're into group fitness, or I took their recommendation.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like you said, and then it makes it just what I did, just about you, which I think
Exactly.
is really powerful. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
I love it. I'm so glad that I'm not the only person that just like looks, what you doing over there?
I know we are not the only people. Everybody listening and tuning in right now is like nodding. They're like guiltily like, mm-hmm. So no guilt,
And
no shame. That's just what we do.
nope. Nope. And the thing I have to remind people is like, so people who are getting into these things and they see people thinking that they're thinking about them, we're not looking at you and thinking bad about you. I want to make that really clear. Like if you're
No,
looking at
it
someone,
has.
I think we are basically saying like, oh, okay, I don't want anyone to not want to get to a class or not want to do it for a run because they think everyone's looking at them or judging them. It's like, no, this is all internal about us. We're very self-centered sometime in this moment. And that's okay because we're not judging you. I don't want people to think that I can't go to this Orange Theory class or I can't go for a run because they're looking at how fast I'm going and thinking, wow, you're so slow. Look how much faster I am.
Yeah, it's literally not about the other person at all. It's about what can I do to make myself
Exactly.
more awesome today. It has nothing like, and it doesn't even matter who the person is or what they're doing. It's just like, okay, are they doing something that could make me challenge myself? Like you said, accept the challenge. That's more what it is. It has nothing to do with, the person. So yes, don't be scared. Go.
Yeah, please,
Go
please.
do
We're
the
not
thing.
like, and also a lot of times we're comparing it to what ourselves we do. Is like, oh, well, last week I was able to run this. Yesterday I was able to run this. So we're not comparing it to you a lot of times. We're also comparing it to ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Which again is also, it's just the balance. It's the balance of figuring out, and almost everything could be, people in the world are really good at using things against themselves, right? Like we're all pretty guilty of that. Like if you see, for instance, some other girl and she runs a 7:30 half marathon, we can either look at that and say, oh, fuck me, I'm not that fast. We could also look at it and say, look at that possibility. Look what I can create because she did it too.
Exactly.
And I think it's just one of the things in the world to just practice how we use the information that's around us. That like, what's the point in even thinking of it in a negative way when we could always just make it positive? Again, that positive momentum. That's what we want to build.
Changing the mindset and changing the language, that how we talk about it and how we think about it. Like I know I have a friend and she's so fast and I'm just so impressed. She's a nurse. She has 5 kids and she is just so fast. Is doing London, is doing the New York City half she got in, and she just bust out like 9-0 at OTF. And I'm like, oh, holy shit. That's, if I got it all out at 9-0, I was so proud of myself. I was like high-fiving, and I not once think anything bad about her. I think that's potential. I could get there. Look at this mom who can get there. I can get there.
Yes. But there's so much. I have 2 things to say. One, oh my God, I bet she was like pushing kids in a stroller while she's running. And every time I see someone do that, I'm like, you are amazing. I literally just like yell at the person, like something encouraging. I'm like, you are so strong and amazing. This is awesome. But the second thing too is looking at her and having her be potential is also so powerful for her and for you and for like all women in general in the world. Like we just need to be doing that to support everybody, because when I was running and I was like faster before, I also had a running blog. And I remember writing a blog post that was like my most viewed one ever. And it was on like the apparently controversial topic. Well, I thought I was really bothered by people saying this. There's like 2 camps and it seems like they're split down the line. There are the people who are quote unquote slower and then the people who are quote unquote faster, right? And the people who were faster, I remember hearing the quote unquote fast people talking about the slow people and calling them hobby joggers. And I was like, excuse me? They are all still runners. But on the flip side, I also like, and for everybody listening, I'm totally doing air quotes because there is no fast, there is no slow, right? So then like the slow group used to call the fast group fast holes, like assholes. And I'm just like, can we just all be runners? Like I just leave it that way? Like, because there can be so much judgment. So why not just, cheer for everybody, see it as possibility, and everybody needs to be encouraged versus torn down. There's just too much of that in the world, especially right now.
We tear ourselves down so much. We don't need to tear other people down.
Absolutely not.
There's so much wasted energy. You want more energy to go for a run? Stop tearing everyone fucking down. Stop tearing yourself down. You'll have more energy, I promise.
Yeah, get that middleman out of there. Just like don't even have those conversations with anybody. Like you said, waste of time, waste of energy. The 15 minutes you're like bitching about something, you could have already run 1.5 miles. So go.
Exactly.
I love that.
Now that you're in New York City, you are lucky enough to be able to see a lot more dogs than I am in the suburbs. Well, I'm not even in the suburbs, but so need to. You sent me an Instagram video huffing and puffing because I think you had literally just stopped the watch and hit record.
Yes.
It couldn't have been
Yes.
more than seconds later, telling
No, it
me
was
about
not.
your record-breaking dogs per mile run. So I need to know more
Okay.
about it, what
So
happened, everything.
this was so crazy. And that whole run, I remember like as I started getting into it, I was like, oh my God, I should text Bridget right now and tell her how many dogs I've already seen. And I was only like 3 miles into my run because this was one of my 7 miles, like longer runs. And I was like, no, just wait, because what if you see more? There's like 4 more miles. And then after like 3 more miles or like 1 more mile, I was like, oh my God, I have to just call. Like, I should just call her while I'm running or send her a voice memo or send her a thing. I was like, this is crazy. I was like, you know what? You were just going to wait till the end. So I do think the reason why maybe it ended up being such an epic dog run is because I was going at like Thursday morning at 8 a.m. And I think
Yep.
everybody was taking their dogs out before work. There's no, I think about this all the time. And just for like the audience's perspective, I'm a cat person. So I don't normally count dogs per run. But of course, I love Bridget and Bridget like promotes this. And I've been practicing Joy. So I was like, oh, I'm going to start doing it. So I got out on this run, and where I live in Williamsburg, there's a waterfront park that I run along, and
Mm-hmm.
there's just apartments everywhere where I live. So it just has to be the issue. And then I went up further into another neighborhood called Greenpoint, and then I came back and I ran past a larger park. And I just want to clarify, to my knowledge, I did not go to a dog park. I just feel like that has to be said. But I did pass by the waterfront park. I
Mm-hmm.
ran through it, but it's like, it's New York, so it's not like a lawn. Well, I mean, there is some grass, but there's also like a volleyball net and like mostly cement. And then I did not go through the other park on purpose because after I started getting into counting the dogs, I was like, that would have to be cheating because people are probably walking their dogs in the park, the big park. And so when I first wanted to message Bridget, like I said, I thought about it multiple times. I was maybe 2 miles into my run and I'd already seen 36 dogs. And I was like, what is happening? I think like there was, they were just like everywhere. And then I started realizing that so many people were like walking 2 dogs at a time. And I was like, is that
Yes.
cheating?
Nope.
Because, and then I'm like, some of these people have to be like hired dog walkers because some people had like 4 dogs. And so then I kept going. And the second time I'd seen 52. And I was like, that's when I was like, I have to like call you, send you a video message or something. By the time I looped around, and I will say the waterfront had the most because it started to slow down at like actual dogs per mile, not the average. But by the time I got home, I remember, or even before that, I remember like approaching 70. And I was like, oh my God, am I going to get into like triple digit dog
Digits.
numbers? But I ended up with 98 and I was just beside myself. I almost just like ran another block just to be like, where are 2 more dogs? Where are 2 more dogs?
They have done that. I was like, oh, come on. Because I'm an even numbers person. I wanted to divide evenly or just set something ridiculous. 98.
Yeah, I started doubting myself. I'm like, am I crazy? Did you pass by
Am I counting right?
Yeah, I was like, did I forget? Did I mess up? If anything, I bet that I would have aired under because if I thought that I had already like, I was like, no, you're thinking the next one was 15. So you are only at 14. So if anything, maybe I did see over 100, but I made sure to air under, not over because I was like, this is crazy. And I didn't even do like an out and back. It was a loop. It was like a big circle.
Yeah.
Wild. I can't believe it. Like amazing. I feel like I should get an award. You should send me an award.
I should definitely make you an award for that. I think it's fun because it just brings you for me, it brings me joy when I see it because I'm like, I get all excited because I mean, I'm a dog person. So then, but like you were talking about like, oh, I don't know if this is cheating. And that's the best part about it is the rules, just like the growth points, are yours to set. You can set your own rules. I have different rules for races and I have different rules for runs. Runs, if I see that dog more than once, he counts once. In a race, all bets are off. If I see that same dog 3 times because they've gone to miles 3, 7, and 4, doesn't matter. He counts multiple times.
Also, it should count multiple times because that other person's putting in work to spectate. So everybody counts that. Yeah, I like that. So fun. I think, side note, spectating the New York Marathon was wildly amazing. Everyone should do that in their life. Every runner should go watch New York Marathon.
I know. I've
beautiful.
Lived in New England my entire life and never went to the Boston Marathon. My brother does the paramedics for it. So he's at the finish line. So he has Boston Marathon jackets for being a volunteer. And I told him, cool. I was like, if you ever get a bib, if they ever give you one, I will take that off your hands in a
Yeah,
heartbeat.
I'll just
He has not yet.
cover that for you. Yep.
That's- I got it. Do you need money for that? I will. Here you go. Boop boop. Which is fantastic. I love that though. I'm so have you counted dogs on any of your other runs since the record breaking run? Or you just haven't seen that many?
I've done it a couple times, but honestly, I was like, that was so many dogs that it's like overwhelming to like go count them again because I'm running like the same route. And I'm like, so there was another run where it was like 60 or something like that. And I was like, it's just so many. It's so many dogs. I did. There were some dogs that I count that were like 2 blocks away that I could see. Like, I'll still count.
Yeah, I'll do that. I count it. I'll count dogs that are in cars. Like I was like, one time I had a dog that was, and you could see his head through the sunroof. I was like, you count. You 100% count because look at you, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at you.
And then I'll make a point if I see like a golden retriever or a mini Aussie, if they look like my dogs, I'm like, oh, you're extra points. Or if it's a person I know and it's their dogs, I'm like, you count extra.
I love that. I should have counted. I did see a cat in a backpack once, and I was like, you should be worth 5 for me since I like cats.
I saw someone walking a cat on a leash, and I was like, I saw this many dogs and 1 cat. Question mark.
Question mark. It's strange. I wish my cats would walk on leashes. They don't like it. I tried. I'm that weird lady.
That doesn't 0% of me is surprised by that fact that you tried to get them to walk. You're like, come on. And they're like, fuck you. No.
I tried a lot.
Who we are?
Yeah, they're like, we don't want to do this. So that's fine. They can do as they please.
As cats do. I have some just fun rapid fired questions that I'd like to ask you about running and just kind of see your thoughts, your opinions, or anything like that. So what is your I'm crushing this run song versus the please God let this run in song in your playlist?
The song that comes to my mind, I'm crushing this run song, is I love AC/DC's Back in Black. And it's maybe not crushing this, but it's I'm going to crush this. That's always my very first song on the playlist. And it just like amps me up so much. My Please Let Me Finish This Run song. I don't listen to too much music when I run. And I would say that actually my Please Let Me Finish This Run, I wouldn't be listening to music. It would be literally David Goggins would be like, it's David Goggins' voice. If he made a song, it would be him. That's my answer.
Just on repeat.
Yes, it is. It's so true.
Your weekend plans were a weather forecast. What would it predict?
Like, as in what the weather would be? I love this question.
Yeah.
Okay. The weather would be overcast, but bright. So like not like dark overcast, but bright. No wind. No, slight light breeze, not wind. Slight light breeze. And like I'm thinking running specific weather. And probably like 48 degrees. Right?
So what is your perfect running outfit in that weather then? Do you do shorts? Do you do leggings?
Right now I'm wearing leggings a lot, but I think I'm just like overdressing. But I would either wear leggings. Okay, that makes me have like 2 answers because I also really love shorts and a sports bra, which would be like 55. So 48 to 55, shorts and a sports bra or leggings and like a t-shirt.
What is your I'm definitely an adult grocery cart item versus I'm actually going to treat my body right post long run cart? Or you're going down to the bodega, you just did a long run. What's your good decision or quote unquote bad decision? Because there's no bad decisions. It's just what you're feeling.
Okay. Well, how I see this is like when I'm not post long run, I just make decisions so differently than when I am. But I would say when it's me right now, not long run, the meal that I've been making that's so good is almost like an egg white frittata with like whole grain toast. So freaking good with like a whole egg on it. So it's like baked with feta cheese and that's really good. But after a long run, when I'm really hungry, the thing that I always crave is like the biggest fucking burrito ever. Like I crave protein and cheese and a tortilla and like I could eat the whole thing. Or like huevos rancheros, something like that. It's just like, I don't know. Maybe it's like the carbs, the protein, like all of it. I just need a big ass burrito.
So post long run, you are savory versus like a sweet.
Oh, absolutely.
Got it. So what's the most chaotic thing you've ever had to tie your hair up with on a run? Or were you able to run with your hair down? You show up, you
Okay.
pull your hair, that hair tie snaps. What the fuck do you do?
I just also watching the New York Marathon, I was like, why are so many people running with their hair down? I kept being like, what? I would just like stare and I'm like, what? How are they doing that? Um, okay. I've used this is the vision that's coming to my mind. And in my mind, I'm like, there's no way this can be accurate. I've definitely done like with no hair tie where you like try to make like a tight wind and like one bobby pin and like pin it to your head with one bobby pin. I've done that. But
Mhm.
it's coming to my mind where I've used like a paper clip as a bobby pin before. And there's no way it worked. There's no way that worked. But I would say out of things that work, like a rubber band, but there's no way that worked. Yeah, I probably was running with my hair down because I feel like I have that image in my mind. What's yours?
I definitely have just like braided my hair as tight as possible. And I think I've just grabbed as much hairspray as possible and was like, thoughts and prayers, spray the shit
Thoughts
out
and
of it, like
prayers.
mat
Yeah.
it down and just sprayed it down. If your running motivation was a scented candle, what would it be called?
Ooh, that's fun. Actually, look at my scented candle right here. I literally have this. It's called Go Getter. And the subline is featuring bubbly notes of champagne and success. And so, yeah, champagne, Go Getter. I think this candle itself works. I like that. That's so funny.
I love that.
Body changes. So good.
Okay, my last one is, what is your most memorable growth point moment?
That's a great question. It's so funny. My mind jumps to so many things that aren't even like necessarily running related. There's been so many amazing growth things that have happened this year in moving to New York and like just how I've changed as a person. So what is my most memorable growth point moment? If it were running related, I would say that it would either be the growth point moments that stand out the most to me, and there's a handful of them, are times so funny, like the thinking about the theme of this will make sense after like the theme of this podcast and all what growth points mean, why it would be defined this way. But is when I ran, for instance, like the San Francisco Women's Marathon, I ran it for just fun. And I remember it was just so fun to do. And there were so many people. And I went down with a run group that I was with at the time. And so there were so many people there cheering on. There was like a group of like 30 of us that were all there. And I remember it was one of my best marathon performances. It was one of those 4 that were in like the 6 weeks or whatever. And then I remember after that, I went back on the course and my body felt so good. I just cheered for like the next like 2 to 3 hours, everybody else coming in. And that just like running for fun and having it be such like and I'm putting this in massive quotes, quote unquote, easy marathon. But doing it just because I loved it and having it be almost my PR on a hilly ass course was like super, super cool to go into that just running for joy. Another one would be one of the last my second to last marathon I've run was a trail marathon. And that was like a feat of mental grit. It was in November at Silver Falls State Park. It was
I was just thinking it was that one.
Yeah. And getting through that and continuing, like there haven't been a lot of things where I was like, I think I'm going to DNF. Like at mile 19, I was like, I think I should pull out at this aid station. And I was like, you are good. Like you can do this. Let's keep going. And it was such a beautiful race in terms of just like where we were. And I think in terms of like my determination, I think I give myself lots of growth points for that race. Yeah.
I love that. Kayla, thank you so much for coming on today. So what key points do you want the listeners to take away, take home, to put into practice with their own running?
I think the thing would be the growth points. Like go and figure out what are some measurement tools that you, type A person who loves to like track things, can track that will build positive momentum. And one thing I will say that we didn't say earlier, but everybody know, is we didn't say, oh, I didn't do that today, so it's a negative point. There's no such thing. They're growth points. They only go plus. Only go plus.
You're not losing points for not going for a run. You're not losing points because it was dark and you were cold and you didn't get out. You don't lose points. You can only gain them.
Nope. And you probably get a growth point there for rest. So there you go.
Yes, but you probably needed it.
Yes. So I would say that. I would say the growth points. I would say the joy. I would say focusing on, the positive momentum and the growth points. And I think that, is perfect with what you share all the time too. Add dogs in there. Count your dogs.
Yeah. Have fun. Where can people find more about you? Where can they follow you? Where can they learn about what you do?
I love to be on Instagram. Instagram's my favorite place. You can find me there at It's Kayla Jury. So like it's ITS and then my name, Kayla Jury. I also have a podcast. It's going to go through a little bit of a rebrand. So I'm just going to send you to my Instagram so that you can click my little link in bio. I also have a newsletter that comes out every week with different ideas and helpful things, a lot like the growth points and how I develop those systems and how I use them, both for that people can use in their lives. And then, of course, coaches can use in their training. And if you're a coach, whether you're a run coach or whatever it is, I also have a coach's skills development program. So that is really important and helpful and fun as well.
Or if you've ever thought about being a coach and you don't have any clients yet, which is what I have gone through. Me and Kayla have done a frame shop workshop. So if you've thought about being a coach and you're like, well, I don't have any clients yet. I can't do this yet. Kayla says, fuck that. You can still be a coach.
And we're going to set you up so you can get clients. Yes. So exactly. I would say,
she will help you.
Yeah. Coaches College and the Framework Workshop, I really found that I've loved working with people who are newer and beginning. And because I'm really passionate about helping people share their skills with the world, helping passionate people put their ideas and skills into the world, because it benefits more people when we do that. So absolutely. Let's make it happen.
Yes. Okay. One final thought. What's one big running goal you have for 2025?
Ooh, I do want to race again some way, somehow. I just feel like, especially here in New York, the energy at the races is wild. I want to put my name big on my shirt and have everybody be like, Kayla. And if I could somehow sneak into the New York Marathon, not sneak like Bandit Run, but I mean like acquire a bib, I'm there.
Yeah, for sure. Putting your name in that lottery always. And then if anyone, is looking for a runner that.
Exactly.
Kayla's
like,
here.
Did you decide you don't want to do it? Do you run a run club in New York that's a New York Roadrunners run club and you have like 10 bibs and you need someone to give one to?
Are you a sponsor for the New York City running or marathon and you would like someone to run for you? Kayla's here. Oh. She's ready.
Absolutely. I will drink your drink and wear your shirt. Whatever you're sponsoring with. You sell bananas, I'll eat your banana and then go run the marathon.
You betcha. Thank you again, Kayla. This was so much fun. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for having me.